So it starts with a donor, a local donor, who wants to be a steward of all that God's given. I talk with donors all the time. Talk with donors who give little amounts, and I don't mean anything by that morally or judgmentally, and people who give very, very significant amounts. And across the board, I hear this. You know, when I stand before God, I want to hear him say, well done. Not just with my family, not just with my business, but with my giving. God has given this money to me. And Randy Alcorn says in the book, The Treasure Principle, which we have copies in the back and we encourage you to pick one up, he says we're God's money managers. He owns it all. He owns it all. He owns the business the businessman owns. He owns the income the businessman's own. He gave him the ability to produce wealth. He owns your nonprofit. We believe that. He owns everything. And if he owns my wallet, it's really not mine to give. So I want to make sure I'm doing God's will with my giving, is what I hear these donors say. I want to be as good a faithful steward as I can possibly be. And as they give, God is transforming that heart. God is changing them. You have a ministry to donors through giving you may never have anticipated before. Because I talk to the donors all the time. And I love these conversations. I talk to them where their heart, deepest emotions are about their giving and their business. I just had a conversation with a man, you know, the economy's down. He said, I've made a big pledge to an organization, and my business is doing very, very poorly. How am I going to make the pledge? What am I going to do? And we're at a deep heart issue, because Jesus said, where your treasure is, your heart will be also. And when you're talking about finances with a donor, you're in an area of such depth where God dwells, where God is speaking. And he's inviting you into that in a relationship with donors, that they would grow, because it's better to give than to receive. That donor who business was doing poorly said, I believe God wants me to give more. And he stepped out in faith and gave it. What's going on in his heart? God is doing a major transformation. Instead of just giving a gift that's simple out of his excess, he's willing to sacrifice. That's amazing. God's growing donors.